Today's topic is esophagus. So first we will see the introduction of the esophagus. Okay, you can see these both spelling are same. Okay, these both spelling are right. Okay, one start from E, that is American English, and one start from the O, that is esophagus, that is an British English. Okay, also we can say it is a food pipe or gullet. Okay, also we can say it is another name, that is the food pipe or gullet. Now we will see the anatomy of the esophagus. First, in that location, okay, where it is located. So you can see in the figure, okay, the esophagus is a muscular tube that runs behind the pharynx and to the stomach through the diaphragm. Okay, where it is located, it runs or it starts from the pharynx to the stomach. Okay, from pharynx and stomach between there is one muscular tube that is known as the esophagus. It runs behind the trachea. Okay, where it is located, behind the trachea. Okay, you can see in the figure. See, this is in blue color, that is the trachea, and it is located behind the trachea and heart and in front of the spine. Okay, you can see this is the spinal cord. Okay, so where it is located, between trachea and the spine. Then it travels on the right side of the descending aorta and it passes through the diaphragm and connect with the stomach. Okay, it located or it travels on the right side of the descending aorta. See, this is the descending aorta. So where it is located, on the right side there is descending aorta and it passes through the diaphragm. You can see this is the diaphragm. What is diaphragm? Diaphragm is a muscular layer that separates the abdomen from the chest. Okay, so there is a muscular layer, that is diaphragm, and it is located between chest and between abdomen. Now we will see the length. Okay, 25 centimeter in length and we can say 8 inches. Okay, 25 centimeter length of the esophagus. Then what is diameter? 2 centimeter. The diameter of the esophagus is 2 centimeter. At the time of the birth, the length of the esophagus is 8 to 10 centimeter. And at the age of 15 years, there is the length of the esophagus is 19 centimeter. And in adult, there is the 25 centimeter. Now we will see the relationships, anatomical relations of the esophagus. In that, first one is the anteriorly. Okay, and you can see in the figure, anteriorly there is a trachea, posteriorly there is a vertebral column, laterally there is a thyroid gland. You can see this is a lobe of the thyroid gland. Then right and left bronchus. See, this is the right and left bronchus. It is a further dividation of the trachea. Okay, right and left bronchus. Then superiorly there is the pharynx. Okay, you can see superiorly there is the pharynx and inferiorly there is a stomach. Okay, these are the relations of the esophagus. Now we will see the structure of the wall of esophagus. Okay, as we know, there are 4 layers in GI system. You can see in the figure, first one is a mucosa, that is the inner layer. Second is a submucosa. Then third one is a muscular layer, and outer and fourth layer, that is the adventitia or the serosa. Okay, in mucosa it is made up of the stratified squamous epithelium cells. Then submucosa, which contain blood vessels, nerve endings. Then muscle layer, which contain upper third, middle third and lower third part. Okay, 3 parts are there: upper third, middle third and lower third part. In upper third, there is a skeletal muscle that is under control. Okay, that is the voluntary muscle. If we eat something into the esophagus, then in upper third part there is a voluntary muscle. So there is control of us. So if any food is entering into the upper third part of the esophagus, we can regurgitate it. Then lower third part which contains the smooth muscle tissue, and it is a involuntary muscles. So there is no any control of us. So there is no any control. So we cannot regurgitate or we cannot bag the food. Then middle third, that is a mixed muscle. So which contain the skeletal muscles and the smooth muscles. Then last one is the adventitia or serosa, that is the outer covering of the esophagus. So these are the structure or wall of the esophagus. Now we will see the blood supply of the esophagus. First one is arterial blood supply. You can see esophageal artery, that is the paired esophageal artery, inferior phrenic artery, then celiac artery. Okay, three arteries are there. First one is the esophageal artery, inferior phrenic artery, and third one is a celiac artery. Venous drainage is done by the azygous vein and hemizygous vein and left gastric vein. Then nerve supply which is given by the vagus nerve. Okay. Now we will see the functions of the mouth, pharynx and esophagus. Okay, there is two basic functions. Okay, first one is the formation of bolus, second one is a swallowing. In anatomical terms, swallowing means what? Deglutitions. Okay, so two basic functions of the mouth, pharynx and esophagus. Now we will see in detail. First one is the formation of bolus. Okay, what is bolus? Bolus is a food which we have eaten in our oral cavity and that is mixed with the saliva. There is a soft mass that is the rounded in shape, that is the bolus. Okay, when food is taken into the mouth, it is chewed. Okay, what is the chewing? It is in anatomical terms, it is mastication. Okay, when food is masticated by the teeth, moved around the mouth by the tongue and muscle of the cheeks. With the help of the tongue and muscles of the cheeks, there is made up of the bolus. Then it is mixed with the saliva in the mouth and it forms the soft mass and we can say bolus. Now it is ready for the swallowing. The length of the time that food remains into the mouth depends to a large extent on the consistency of food, and some food needs to be chewed longer than the others. Means what? If we eat semi-solid or solid food, it takes longer time for chewing. So it takes longer time into the mouth. So dependent consistency of the food, there is the time for the chewing. Then the second process, that is the swallowing. So what is swallowing? That is the deglutitions. So it occurs in three stages. First one is the oral stage. That process occurs into the mouth or oral cavity. Second is the pharyngeal stage. This process occurs into the pharynx. And third one is the esophageal stage. This process is occur into the esophagus. So three phases of the swallowing. First is the oral stage. Second is the pharyngeal stage. And third one is the esophageal stage. Now first one is the oral stage with the mouth closed. Okay, when food is chewed or masticated food is ready or bolus is ready, then mouth or lips are closed now. Then the voluntary muscles of the tongue and cheek push the bolus backward into the pharynx. Okay, when we close our mouth, the muscles of the tongue and cheeks try to push the bolus into the backward, into the pharynx. So this is the oral stage. You can see in the figure, see this is the bolus and there is the voluntary muscles of the tongue and the cheeks that try to push the bolus towards the backward. Now second stage is the pharyngeal stage. The muscles of the pharynx are stimulated. When it is stimulated, when bolus is entered into the pharynx, the muscles of the pharynx are stimulated. Involuntary contraction of the muscles that propel the bolus down into the esophagus. Okay, in pharynx there is the involuntary contraction of the muscles of the wall of the pharynx, what they create? They push the bolus towards the esophagus. Okay, there is no any control of us. Then the soft palate rise up and close of the nasopharynx. At that time, the soft palate, okay, there is a two palate, hard palate, soft palate. Okay, in anterior area there is the hard palate. In posterior area there is the soft palate. Soft palate rise up, it goes rise up and close the nasopharynx area. See, this is the close the nasopharynx area. So the tongue and the pharyngeal fold block the way into the mouth. Okay, at that time the tongue and pharyngeal fold block the mouth area as well as the trachea. So it prevents the entry of the food back into the mouth as well as into the airway. Then third stage, that is the esophageal stage. The presence of the bolus into the pharynx that stimulates a wave of peristalsis that propels the bolus to the stomach. Okay, when bolus is entered into the esophagus, the stimulation of the peristalsis movement are occurred. Okay, it active the peristalsis movement or wavy movement to the esophagus. So it helps to pass the bolus to the stomach in the backward manner. So peristalsis wave pass along the esophagus only after the swallowing begins. So otherwise walls are the relaxed. If food is present into the esophagus, then only the swallowing is start and peristalsis wave are occur. Okay, when it becomes active. Otherwise, the walls of the esophagus are become relaxed. The lower esophageal sphincter. Okay, see, this is the lower esophageal sphincter. This is the valve between the esophagus and the stomach. Okay, see, this is the sphincter. The lower esophageal sphincter gardening the entrance to the stomach that relax to allow the descending bolus to pass into the stomach. Means what? The esophageal sphincter are the gardening. When food enters into the stomach, the valves are the relaxed. And when food enter into the stomach and esophagus, there is no any food, that time the valve are closed. So it helps to stop the regurgitation and backflow to the esophagus. So constriction of the lower esophageal sphincter that prevents the reflux of the gastric acid into the esophagus. Okay, it is helpful for the reflux or gastric acid back into the esophagus. The wall of esophagus are lubricated by the mucus. Okay, mucus is always secreted by the mucus cell, or we can say that is the goblet cells. Goblet cells are always secrete the mucus. Why mucus is necessary? For the lubrication of the wall that prevent the injury to the GI wall. So mucus is essential for the passageway of the bolus to the stomach. Okay, so wall of the esophagus are lubricated by this mucus which assist the passage of the bolus during the peristaltic contraction of the muscular wall. So this is the function. This is the function, or we can say it is a physiology, or we can say formation of bolus as well as swallowing. Now we will see the next topic, that is the after the esophagus there is a stomach. Okay, now we will see about the stomach. First we will see the introduction of the stomach. The human stomach is a muscular, okay, it is a muscular, elastic, pear-shaped bag beneath the diaphragm. Okay, you can see this is a diaphragm. It is a muscular layer that separate two areas, chest and abdomen. Okay, this is the diaphragm. So stomach is located beneath the diaphragm and it is a muscular, elastic and pear-shaped bag. Okay, now we will see the anatomy of the stomach. In that, first we will see the location. So where located? It is located between the esophagus and small intestine. Okay, where it is located? It is located between the esophagus and the small intestine. See, this is the first part of the small intestine, that is the duodenum. So it is located between the esophagus and the duodenum. Then it is located on the left side of the abdominal cavity. Where it is located? It is located at the left side of the abdominal cavity. In particular, which region? You can see in this figure, okay, there is a area of the abdomen, okay, where it is located in epigastric. You can see this is the epigastric area, umbilical area, see this is the umbilical area, and left hypochondriac region. See, this is the left hypochondriac region. So, stomach is located in the epigastric region, umbilical region, and left hypochondriac region. Now, shape of the stomach, that is in J shape. You can see this is in J shape. Okay, so stomach shape is J shape. Then length that is in 12 inch, or we can say in 30.5 centimeter. Then width, that is 6 inch. Okay, so we can say 12 into 6. Okay, the length, that is 12 inch, and diameter, or we can say width, that is 6 inch. Now we will see the anatomical relations of the stomach. Okay, first, anteriorly there is a left lobe of liver and anterior abdominal wall. Okay, in anterior portion of the stomach, there is a left lobe of the liver and anterior abdominal wall. Then posteriorly, there is abdominal aorta, which comes from the heart. So, there is abdominal aorta. You can see this is a pancreas. So, behind the stomach, or we can say posterior side of the stomach, there is a pancreas. Then spleen, see this is the spleen. Then left kidney, and over the left kidney there is a left adrenal gland. Then superiorly there is a diaphragm. You can see here there is a diaphragm. Then esophagus, see this is the esophagus, and left lobe of the liver. See, this is the left lobe of the liver. Then inferiorly there is a transverse colon. You can see this is the transverse colon. Okay, see this is the ascending colon, see this is the transverse colon, and see this is the descending colon. So below the stomach, at the inferior side of the stomach, there is a transverse colon. It is a part of the large intestine. Then small intestine. Okay, also there is a small intestine. It is first part of the small intestine, that is the duodenum. Okay, so below the stomach, at the inferior side of the stomach, there is a duodenum, that is the first part of the small intestine. Then left side there is a diaphragm and the spleen. You can see this is a spleen, and here there is a diaphragm. In right side there is a liver. Okay, see this is the liver, and duodenum. See this is the duodenum. So these are the relationship of the stomach. Now we will see the structure of the stomach. In that, first there is a part of the stomach. Okay, there is 3 parts of the stomach. First one is a fundus, second is body, and third one is a pylorus. Okay, 3 portion or 3 parts of the stomach, 3 major parts. First one is a body, then fundus, then the pylorus. Okay, you can see in the figure, yellow color, that is area is fundus. Then you can see in the green color area, that is the middle portion, that is the body, and last end portion, that is the pylorus. And at the beginning there is a cardia. Okay, so 3 parts are there. First or upper portion, that is the fundus, middle portion, that is the body. Okay, see this is the body, and last, that is a funnel shaped terminal end, that is the pylorus. Now we will see the curvature of the stomach. Okay, there is 2 curvature of the stomach. Okay, there is a lesser curvature and greater curvature. Okay, greater curvature has a greater area. Okay, see this is the greater curvature, and see this is the lesser curvature. Okay, lesser curvature has a lesser area. So 2 curvature are there. You can see in the figure. See this is a lesser curvature, and see this is the greater curvature. Now we will see about the sphincter, or we can say opening, or it is looks like a valve. So it has a two sphincter, or we can say it has a two opening. So first one is a cardiac sphincter and second one is a pyloric sphincter. Okay, cardiac sphincter where it is located at the area of the cardia, and pyloric sphincter where it is located, it is located at the pyloric area. So cardiac sphincter and the pyloric sphincter. Cardiac sphincter that attach to the esophagus at the upper side, and pyloric sphincter that attach to the duodenum, or we can say first portion or first part of the small intestine. So two sphincter are there, cardiac sphincter and the pyloric sphincter. Cardiac sphincter here and pyloric sphincter here. Okay, so two are sphincter. Now we will see the layer of the peritoneum that attach to the stomach. Okay, or we can say two double layer of the peritoneum that is called as a omentum. Okay, the muscle layer that attach to the abdominal wall and the organ. So this structure is called as a omentum. So there is two omentum. Okay, lesser omentum, greater omentum. Lesser omentum, it attach to the liver. See, this is a lesser curvature and see, this is the liver. Okay, so this omentum connect or it attached to the liver and the lesser curvature, while greater omentum, you can see it is attached to the greater curvature and the abdominal wall as well as the transverse column at the below side, at the inferior side. So what it contains? It contains the fat. What is the need of the fat? That insulate, that cushion and that protect the abdominal organ. So omentum is very necessary or essential part of body. Why? Because it contains some blood vessels, some nerve endings, okay, lymph vessels as well as fat as well as connective tissue. So it gives a support to the abdominal organs. Now we will see the stomach wall. Okay, as we know, it has a in GI system, in GI tract or alimentary canal, there is a 4 layers, okay, of the walls. First one is a mucous membrane, second is a submucous membrane, third one is a muscular covering, fourth one is a serous covering or adventitia. Now in mucous membrane, this is the inner layer, okay, it is inner layer of the GI tract, or we can say stomach. So it has a longitudinal folds, or we can say it's a rugae. Okay, there is some longitudinal folds, like you can see in the figure. See, this is a fold. Okay, these folds are called as a rugae. This is a longitudinal folds in the stomach. When full, the rugae are ironed out, that give the surface smooth and velvety appearance. If the muscles, or we can say in the mucous membrane is ironed out or it is relaxed, so it gives a smooth and velvety appearance. Then submucous, it contains some vessels, that is the artery as well as the blood vessels as well as the nerve supplies. Then muscle layer, there is some modification in the muscular layer, and so serous layer, or we can say serous covering, that is outer layer, and it is a shiny and protection of the inner organ. Outer layer serosa, that is in shiny, as well as it gives the protection to the other layers. Now we will see what is the modification in muscular layer. Now muscle layer, okay. So it contains 3 layers, okay. First one is the outer, middle and inner layer. 3 muscle layer are there. There is modification in the middle as well as inner layer. That is, the first one is the outer layer, which contain the longitudinal fibers. You can see this is the outer layer, okay, this is the outer layer. That middle layer, which contain a circular fiber. See, this is the circular fiber, okay, and last one is inner layer, which contain the oblique fibers. See, this is the inner layer, okay. So 3 muscle layer are there. First one is a longitudinal fibers, second is a circular, and third one is a oblique fiber, okay. Now we will see the glands of the stomach. So first one is a fundus gland, second is a cardiac gland, third one is a pylori gland. Okay, as its name suggests, the location of the fundus gland, it is located into the fundus area of the stomach, that is the upper portion of the stomach. Then cardiac gland, that is located in the cardiac area at the entrance of the esophagus and stomach. And the pyloric gland, that is in the pyloric area, or we can say near to the pyloric portion. So fundus gland, it is tube-like structure and tube-shaped glands, and it secretes the pepsin and mucin into the stomach. Then cardiac gland, okay, that is near to the esophageal opening. See, this is the cardiac gland in the cardiac area that secrete the mucus. And third, that is pyloric gland. Okay, that is located near to the pyloric portion. And what is secrete? It secretes the mucus. So these are the three basic glands that is found into the stomach. Now we will see the structure of the stomach mucosa. Okay, what is stomach mucosa? That is the inner lining of the stomach. Okay, the first lining of the stomach. So it has a simple columnar epithelium. It is made up of the simple columnar epithelium. It has a gastric pits. Okay, you can see in the figure, see this is a gastric pit. Okay, in rounded shape. See, this is a gastric pits. So it is formed by the folded mucosa. So gastric pits are the rounded in shape and it is formed by the folded mucosa. See, this is the folded mucosa. Okay. Then second is a mucous neck cell that produce a sticky alkaline mucus. Okay. What is the necessary? What it helps to our system? Because it gives the protection. Okay. Lubrication. Then gastric glands which secrete the gastric juice. You can see this is a gastric gland. Okay, this area. Then Chief cells that produce the protein digesting enzymes, that is the pepsinogens, for the easy digestion of the protein. Then the parietal cells that produce the HCl, that is the hydrochloric acid, and intrinsic factor which is helpful for the vitamin B12 absorption. So parietal cells are producing HCl as well as intrinsic factor. Then endocrine, or we can say G cell. Okay, G cell produce the gastrin which stimulate both parietal and the Chief cells. Okay, parietal and Chief cells. So for the stimulation of the parietal cells and Chief cells, there is need of the gastrin. So endocrine cells, or we can say G cell, that produce the gastrin. Now we will see the blood supply of the stomach. First one is arterial supply, which is given by the left gastric artery and right gastric artery. Then branch of the celiac artery and gastroepiploic artery. The 4 artery gives arterial blood supply to the stomach. Then venous drainage, which is done by the right and the left gastric vein. Then the nerve supply, that is celiac ganglia and the vagus nerve, as well as the lymph supply, that is celiac lymph nodes. So these are the blood supply of the stomach. Now we will see the function of the stomach. Okay, stomach is a reservoir of the food. Okay, so it is capable of the gross alteration in size and shape according to the position of the body and the amount of the food inside. So there is alteration of the size as well as the shape, because if the food is higher or greater in amount, the stomach size is increased. Food is lesser in amount, so stomach size will be decreased. So shape and the position, that will be altered because of the body's position into the body. So first function, it acts as a storage tank of the food. Okay, it is a reservoir for the food. Second is a site of the food breakdown and mixing. Okay, there is a breakdown of the food and mixing with the gastric juice for the easy digestion. Then chemical breakdown of the protein will start. Okay, there is a chemical digestion, or we can say chemical digestion of protein, that will start. Deliver chyme, that is what is chyme? That is a processed food of the, or we can say it is a processed food, or we can say it's a bolus that is mixed with a gastric juice. Okay, that is always developed or processed into the stomach. Okay, when food into the mouth, that is it called bolus. When food into the stomach, that is called as a chyme. So chyme, deliver the chyme to the small intestine, to the duodenum. Then non-specific defense against the microorganisms, because what it helps for the digestion, or what is a microbial activity, because of the HCl. Okay, HCl or hydrochloric acid kill the microorganism which we have ingested during or with the food. Then it secrete the gastric juice. Okay, secretion of the gastric juice that occurs into the stomach. So these are the basic function of the stomach. Which are the basic function? First one is act as a reservoir or act as a storage tank for the food. Site for the food breakdown and mixing. Then chemical breakdown of the protein. Deliver the chyme to the small intestine. Defense against the microorganisms, and secrete the gastric juice. Now we will see what is gastric juice. So gastric juice that is always found into the stomach. So about 2 liters of the gastric juice are secreted daily. So daily about 2 liters gastric juice are secreted into the stomach by the gastric glands. So what it contains in gastric juice? The content of the gastric juice, that is the water, mineral salt, then the mucus, then the HCl, that is the hydrochloric acid, then intrinsic factor which is helpful for the vitamin B12 absorptions, and inactive enzymes, that is the pepsinogen. So these are the content of the gastric juice. Now we will see the secretion of the gastric juice. Okay, there is always a small quantity of the gastric juice that is present into the stomach even there is no any food. That is known as a fasting juice. Okay, if there is no any food into the stomach, at that time some or small quantity of the gastric juice are secreted into the stomach, that is called the fasting juice. Okay, so it is never empty. So secretion reaches its maximum level about 1 hour after a meal, then it declines to the fasting level after 4 hours. When we eat, the gastric juice will secrete and it reaches up to the 1 hours, after the 1 hours, and when it is decreased after the 4 hours to the level of fasting juice. The pH of the gastric juice, that is 4 to 5. So it is an acidic condition. Okay, acidic in resting condition. So pH is 4 to 5. So this is all about the gastric juice. Now we will see the function of the gastric juice. Why it is necessary. Okay, what is helpful in our GI system. So function of the gastric juice, in that first one, there is a water. Okay, why water is necessary? Water further liquefy the food. Okay, the food is further liquefied because of the presence of the water in the gastric juice. Second one is HCl. HCl, that is the hydrochloric acid. So it acidify the food and stop the action of the salivary amylase. Where it is found salivary amylase, where it is secreted? Into the oral cavity with the salivary gland. Then kill the ingested microorganism which we have ingested, which we have eaten with the food. So these organisms are killed because of the HCl. Then these enzymes begins digestion of the protein and breaking them into the smaller molecule. So there is a digestion of protein. Then mucus. Mucus is a content of the gastric juice. Mucus is helpful for the lubrication to the inner wall of the stomach. So it prevents the mechanical injury to the stomach wall by lubricating its content. Then last function, that is it prevents the chemical injury by acting a barrier between the stomach wall and the corrosive gastric juice. Okay, HCl production is increased. So there is a work as a barrier to the, it prevent the injury to the inner wall of the stomach. So these are the basic function of the gastric juice. So next topic, that is pancreas. Okay.